Once all that's addressed, hit the X button right here where it says links loop. That clears the plugin out of your chain. And I'm going to actually process some tracks with real analog gear right now. I'm going to find the Warm Audio EQPWA. So let me actually change my track name. And if I wanted to, I could also put in, there's another freebie module, the Comp2. If you hover over each one of these, it tells you how much they cost. The more minutes you get per credit, the cheaper they are. So I'll load this one into module number 2, or number 3. I meant to do number 2. All right, so for now, I'll bypass the compressor. I want to get my EQ going. So I'm just clicking the names of the modules right here. If you have a mono module, it only takes up one slot at the top. If you have a stereo module, it'll show that. And then it also says L and R for left and right. The cool thing about Access Analog is you can gain stage right within the plugin. I personally prefer to gain stage outside of the plugin, but if you keep it within the plugin, the benefit is if you have to do offline processing, which I do recommend doing, then you can do that and the gain staging works great. You don't have to worry about, oh, wait a minute, I didn't have that process with my other plugins. You can also have a wet/dry knob, which is what the mix knob is. So you can get just a little bit of processing. This helps with parallel processing of tracks. Works really well for that. And you can also gain stage between the hardware. So let's say I boost it a lot and the signal is really hot coming out. Let's put that into practice actually.
This one goes out to every Romeo who's wasted his time waiting for the...
So when it comes to analog equipment, you really need to pay attention to gain staging and get the optimal signal level going into the hardware. Otherwise, it's not going to sound good. So, into the plugin, I like to have it between -20 to -12 peaking. You can probably go higher because the converters that they're using at Access Analog are really, really good. So even if you're peaking at -6, it'll still sound really good, but I still like to keep my levels somewhere between -18, -12. That's what it shows on the meter, you know, and I can even expand my meter right here to see that.
This one goes out to every...
So it's peaking a little bit above -18. And it's important to note, you're not controlling your volume with the faders on your DAW. If you don't know, to reset the meters, you just click them. Just like that. All right, so let's get to the actual mixing. Again, I am controlling real. And with that, I have to interrupt the video because I made a critical mistake. When I routed the audio, which I've never done this way before, I just know that you can do it, but when I routed the audio using the method where you put the plugin on the track that is being sent to, guess what? It caused me to make mixing mistakes because the audio from the sending track was going into the receiving track. So in order to prevent that problem from happening, you had to do two things. If you're going to have the Analog Matrix plugin on that track, here's what you have to do. Go to the I/O on the track or tracks that are being sent, and then click where it says Master Send. Uncheck that. That way you're only hearing audio through one track. And the reason that matters is because once you start mixing this track, you're still going to be able to hear the raw track. You don't want that. And that's what I did, and that's why I have to re-record the second half of this video now to show you guys how all this works. So I'm going to disconnect. Here's the other cool thing, and I'll show you that now since I'm going to add some modules. So you click and drag there, And then I have 30 minutes to use both of these. So basically, let's see if the solo button works. Okay, yes, so you can solo 2 pieces of equipment. You can also, again, bypass them, so that's the same as muting them. You can also rearrange these. So now, instead of the loop back being on the far left, it was now on in the middle. And I'll switch it back, and I can also put the Pultec clone at the end. I can put the compressor in the middle. It's really cool how you can do this just like a plugin. So I'll get rid of the links loopback, and I can either keep these here or whatever. I can move them however I want them. If I know I'm going to put other hardware in the middle, then that's what I'll do. But I want to have my EQ first. I prefer to have EQ first and then compressor second. And in the meantime, I'll also bypass it. So all I'm doing is I'm clicking their names right there. So my gain staging is good. I already checked it out before I set everything up. And also because I already did this video, I know exactly which settings I want to do. But just to kind of show you what I do when I'm EQing, I just essentially twist the knobs. What I'll do is I'll boost really high and find the frequency that I may not want. So I'll start at 800 and I'll boost around there. This is an acoustic guitar track, although it was tracked live, so there is vocal bleed. Wait a minute, is this muted? Oh no, I forgot to take it off. So I have to hit record arm and then it'll work. Nope, it's not working. That's why. I have to send it and now it'll work. You should take note that some of these pieces of hardware are mono, so they only can process 1 track at a time. If I had, let's say, drum overheads, I could not do it. Although what you could do is process your left channel, then process the right channel. And actually, normally I would not be using the master fader. So what I'm going to do is put some loud max on. Bring it down to about 12. I should mention that because there is a 1000 millisecond buffer, that means it's a 1 second delay from the time you change the control on your plugin until you hear that. So you should probably go slower than if you were using real hardware, which I forget to a lot of times. And yeah, I think I had to take care of the dog again. She's howling. But before I do that, I'm going to hit record so I can show you guys how to do this. So what I do is I up the buffer to either 1200 or 800 milliseconds. I increase the transmit format to 24-bit 44.1 kilohertz. Recording's already enabled. I should also mention, oh, I didn't change that. Hold on. Record output with a right click, and then you make sure that you do stereo and not stereo latency compensate it. At this point, actually you could even do 2500 milliseconds. At this point you hit record, which I'm going to do, and let it play.
This one goes out to every Romeo who's wasted his time waiting for the junkie angels in the Juliet line, where Pandora's been removed to the perfect day, hanging locked away in some next to foreign brain. And as the poison drains my mind, it leaves me wondering why I can't find a remedy that suits me
Okay, so that is how you do a live bounce. And as you saw while it was playing, there was a great connection. So I always, just to be on the safe side, up the buffer to 2.5 seconds. And once I'm finished that, I can change this back to my normal transmit format. And now move on to compression. So I did this earlier and I thought I did an okay job. First of all, if you're using this for a stereo track, like a mix bus or something, click the link LR box right here. And what that does is it makes sure that your controls are equal, and so that you don't have to, go and then change it. Now here's the problem though. If you already moved your knob and you unlink it and then you click that, right? You go all the way to the 9 o'clock position and then you click link again, guess what happens? Now the control is like that, which can be good and can be bad. Can be a good thing, can be a bad thing. So you want to make sure that you get your controls at the same position, unlink it, then link it again, and then at that point, well, no, it's not working. Uh-oh. Hold on, let me do this. So, all right, unlink it, then change the controls back to where they need to be, or you can like double click. Yeah, if you double click, it returns them to their default position. And sometimes there's a default preset on here as well. But just double click the knob, hit link, and then what I'm going to do is, I like the settings as they are right now, with the exception of the release. I want the release to be auto. It could be fast, but, or actually, you know what? Let me think about this. Yeah, so attack, slow, auto release, compressor, and I think when you have this stereo switch out, it acts as a dual mono. Maybe I might be wrong about that. So it might be a stereo link, meaning that if on one side of the channel it's getting gain reduction, then it does gain reduction equally on both channels, which is normally what you want for something like that. Guess I'll leave it on. All right, now let's add some compression slowly again, because there's a 1 second delay anytime you move one of these controls. And what did I forget to do? Put it in. Now it's in the circuit. And then just like a real compressor plugin, it's kind of funny saying it like that, but with a normal compressor plugin, a lot of times I will bypass it just to hear what it sounds like without the compression, so that the level is about the same. And whenever I'm setting a compressor, as I lower the threshold, I'm raising the makeup gain, or in this case, the output knob, and I'm listening to hear if the transients are being destroyed, if there's a loss of clarity, because if there is, once I hear that, I back it off a little bit, and then that's my setting. Another good way to set compression is find the loudest part of your audio, and what you may need to do in Reaper is hold the shift key and then press your up arrow on your keyboard, and then we get the loudest section is like right here, right here, right here a little bit. The loudest part is actually right here, but it's only for a very brief instance. But I think that part is important to make sure that the gain reduction doesn't hit too hard.
This one goes out to every Romeo who's wasting his time waiting for the junkie angels eventually get line where Pandora's picture.
And because the compressor actually adds its own little tone, I'm going to back off the boost on here.
This one goes out to every Romeo.
Okay, so that about wraps it up, and I want to make sure you guys don't forget, when you are finished with processing the audio, make sure you go back to options, then the preferences, and then where was that, buffering, which is under the audio menu. So buffering, click anticipative FX processing back on, and hit either OK or apply. If you don't do that, then you're going to run into problems when you're mixing with regular plugins. But if you don't have this off, you're going to run into problems with this. And let's see what happens when this hits 0. Does it kick me off? Okay, it didn't kick me off. That's good. Well, I wish there was a way for me to cancel my reservation so in case somebody wanted to use these, they could. But anyway, I'll release them for now back into the wild for some other audio engineer to use. I should mention one other thing, everybody. If you go to the credits purchase page, they break it down into this. You can buy 15 credits for $15. That's the cheapest plan, and it allows you to use the free stuff. If you don't have any credits, you can't do that. Number 2, 50 credits for $50. That's still $1 per credit, but if you want more, okay. This is where you start saving money. At 100 credits, you save $10. At 150 credits, you save $20. That's the one that I recently went with. And then the platinum, you save $30, which, it's a little bit of a savings, but not like the ultimate bundle. And this is the one, if you have the budget, go for this one. You save $80 off of if instead of spending $50 per credit throughout the year, if you buy them all at the same time, you get 80 more credits. Okay, if you just buy them right at the beginning of the year, if you have a business, it's a tax write-off. The other way to save and maximize your money using this is to reserve time and not use the credit system. Starting at 90 minutes and up to 2 hours is when you save the money, because up to 60 minutes, you're essentially spending the same amount of time as you would if you just use the drop in and drop out. Also, if you do use credits, as soon as you press the disconnect button, the timer saves where you left off. Now, I don't know how long that stays, but if you drop in, drop out, it keeps the timer where you left off at, which is really good. It means you don't waste credits unnecessarily. But yeah, reserving equipment is definitely what I recommend doing, because again, at 90 minutes or 2 hours, you're saving, I believe it's $1 off of a normal credit. And at 2 hours, it's $2 off. So 2 hours of gear reservations using credits maximizes your time and your money well spent. Don't forget to hit that like button if you like this video, and consider sharing it on different Facebook groups and other areas, message boards related to audio engineering. It really helps me out, really helps this channel out. And if you really, really like my videos, consider donating, because it helps fund videos like this in the future. Peace out.